So picture this. You're at the airport about to board a plane for a well-deserved 2-week vacation in Maui when you suddenly realize you forgot to turn off the television. Now you could bug your in-laws who have a key to your house, or you could just pull out your phone and turn it off remotely with the help of Tailscale and Home Assistant running on a Raspberry Pi. So today on Mackie Tech, we're going to walk through installing Home Assistant on this Raspberry Pi and set up remote access with Tailscale so you can control your devices from anywhere. If you're not familiar with Home Assistant, it's basically a platform that lets you control and automate smart devices around your home through Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and other sorts of protocols. For example, you can have a motion detector turn a light on when you get home or schedule your office light to come on at a certain time. So there's a lot of different functionality you can set up. And we're going to be doing a basic setup of Home Assistant, not a deep dive, but enough so you can get everything installed and start controlling devices remotely. As I mentioned, we're going to be using this Raspberry Pi, which is a Raspberry Pi 4B with 4 gigabytes of RAM. And Home Assistant recommends using at least a 32 gigabyte Class A2 MicroSD card because the A2 speed is more efficient for running Home Assistant applications. Home Assistant also runs on a Raspberry Pi 3 or Pi 5. If you've never used a Pi before, it's basically a tiny $50 some computer that's perfect for running small home servers like Home Assistant. Also, for the install of the Home Assistant, it's recommended to plug the Pi into the Ethernet port, which we'll be using. But once everything's set up, Home Assistant runs perfectly fine over Wi-Fi if that's the way you want to go. So with all that out of the way, let's jump over to the computer and get Home Assistant installed on the Pi. Okay, so here we are in my Windows setup, and we have our Raspberry Pi imager open, and we're going to flash our SD card. So we'll insert that into our SD card reader. We'll start with our device, Raspberry Pi 4. And click on Next, and then we're going to go down to Other Specific Purpose OS, click on that, and then we'll go down to Home Automation, click on that, and then go down to Home Assistant, and you can see that there is a Home Assistant for Raspberry Pi 4 and Raspberry Pi 400, but it's also compatible with Pi 3 and Pi 5, as I mentioned before, so we'll select that, and we'll click on Next, and here's our microSD card here. We'll click on Next. And here is our summary, Raspberry Pi 4, Home Assistant version 17.1, and we'll click on Write. And it says yes, and I say yes, I understand. And we'll let that do its thing. Okay, and it's finished. It was pretty quick, about 2 or 3 minutes. Click on Finish. And I'm going to go ahead and plug this into my Raspberry Pi 4. I'm doing this in my server room just because I don't have an Ethernet port in my studio. You'll notice that I'm not using any monitors or any keyboard or mouse. I'm just plugging it into the network port and power. And let's access our Home Assistant from our browser now. Okay, so here we are back at our workstation, and we've opened up a browser so we can log into our Home Assistant. Now, what's cool about Home Assistant is that even if I don't know the address of my Raspberry Pi, which I don't, I'm going to go ahead and type in homeassistant.local:8123, hit enter, logs right into my Home Assistant on my Pi. And the reason why it does that is that the Home Assistant is actually the default host name whenever you do a new Home Assistant install, but you can certainly change that name, and I'll show you how to do that. And then local is the local LAN. The port number is 8123, and remember that for later because we'll be referring to it. So let's go ahead and click on Create My Smart Home, and we'll just say Mackie Tech, and my username, and password, and then it thinks I'm in Amsterdam. We'll say Chicago. It's fine, and click on Next. And I do have a couple of things I'm going to tick on here, just basic analytics, usage. I don't need anything else. You can click on any of these if you want to have that visibility. Click on Next. And it already found a bunch of devices. These are all the ones that it found so far. It found my Apple TV, which we'll be messing with. So I'll click on Finish, and here we are. We've logged into our Home Assistant. And the first thing we have here is we have our overview, and I have my living room, my kitchen, basement devices. These are just areas it has by default. You can put other ones in there, which we will. And from this screen here, if we go down to settings on the left-hand side, I'm going to go over down to the bottom here to where it says system. And I can check for my updates by clicking on updates, which I don't have any, which is fine. So I'll click on back. And then if I go down to hardware, you can see that it's got the Raspberry Pi 4. And this system is using very little memory, maybe not even like 1 gigabyte. And processor is not doing much at all, 2%. So, I mean, we're just idle, obviously, but it's running fine. It's not using many resources right now for the Pi. So we'll click on back again, and then we're going to go back to overview. And you can see that it has 11 devices discovered. So we'll click on that. And these are all the ones that it's asking me if I want to add them, which I do. So I'll click on Apple TV. So for this, it's going to ask me to put in a bunch of different codes and whatnot. So I'm going to do that off cam because it's not very exciting. So we'll be right back. Okay, so here we are back, and we have our Apple TV right up here in the upper left-hand corner under favorites. Now, one of the things I want to do first is I want to create a room for it so it's a little easier to access. I'm going to click on the plus sign up here and go to create area. I'm going to type in TV room because that's about as creative as I can get. And we'll go down to icon, and I'm going to type in TV, and we'll just go with this one. It's fine. I'm not going to put a floor in, but you can put in labels. You can add a picture. You can put in aliases, whatever you want to do. I'm just going to click on create. And after the TV room is created, I'm going to go down to settings and go to device and services, and then go to my Apple TV. And then I'm going to go to, it's always fun to try to find out where this is. Area. Okay, so click on area and click on TV room, and then click on update. And I just did that by clicking on devices, services, clicked on Apple TV, and then I clicked on this little pencil here and then put on TV room. And if you don't see your device in here, that is when you come into Home Assistant and it says it's discovered 11 devices, and you don't see your TV or your light or whichever you're trying to control, you can click on Manage Discovered Devices and then go down to Add Integration on the bottom right. And then you can search for, let's say you have an Amazon Fire TV. You click on type in Amazon, and then it has Amazon here, and you can click on Amazon Fire TV or Alexa devices. Same thing if you have if you're just using a smart TV or a light switch, whatnot, you can find them by putting in the vendor under integration. Okay, so we have our Apple TV under TV room. That's fine. And there are two what they call entities here. We have the media player portion, and then we have the remote function. So the remote function, this is on, which means that we can control it remotely. And this is basically the media player portion, and that tells us that, we can control it from here. So I can go down to this little tag down here, and I have these are all the different apps that we have upstairs on our TV. We have YouTube, we have Prime Video, all these other things. I can't watch them here, but I can select which ones are playing, and I can control the TV through this interface. And as we mentioned before, I can turn it on and off. So I can click on this, and now it is turned on. It's idle, but it is turned on. So I'll turn it off for now. And if you can see that I'm upstairs right now, and I have my lovely assistant helping me, and you can see that I'm using my phone with the Home Assistant open, and I am tapping on the power button to turn the TV on and off, just so you can see how that's working. Okay, so now that we can see the TV is working, let's go down to, we want to add Tailscale. So we'll go down to settings, go down to apps, and then click on install app. And then I'm going to type in Tailscale, type in TA, and it comes right up. And here it is right here, Tailscale. And you want to go to, if you don't have an account with Tailscale yet, just go to tailscale.com and you can click on Get Started. It's free. And you can just, I'm already logged in, but you can log in for a free account. Just put in your email address and you're good to go. Okay, back in the Home Assistant, we'll click on Install. And now it's got a bunch of different options to start on boot, which means like if you were to restart your Home Assistant, Tailscale will start automatically. You can do a watchdog, which means that if Home Assistant crashes or Tailscale crashes, it'll reboot by itself. And then I always like to put it in the sidebar here. So I'll click on this option to put it in the sidebar. And then we have it on our left-hand side here so we can access it easier. And now that it is installed, I'm going to click on Start. And then it has a blue option that says Open Web UI. And then it's going to say, get started to log into your Tailscale network. And I'm going to click on Login. And then it says you are about to connect the device Home Assistant to MacTech Tailnet. And the Tailnet is essentially all your other devices that are on Tailscale, which is fine. So click on Connect. And it says Login Successful. So now here is my Tailscale as it's set up right now. I have a bunch of different devices on here. And we have all these different addresses down here that we can utilize. And what these are for connecting to our Home Assistant instance when we are remote. These two up here are called Magic DNS. They're actually URLs you can use. These are just more the IP. This is an IP, I think this is an IPv6 one. This is an IPv4. Either way, any of those will work in your browser as long as you use the port number, the 8123 we looked at before. So we'll keep an eye on those. We're not going to use them just yet. I want to show you one more thing. If we click on the Home Assistant here and click on Review, we have these two very cool features that we can enable. The first one is called a subnet router or subnet routes. And what this does is it allows your Home Assistant to act as sort of a bridge between Tailscale and your home network. So as long as your Tailscale machine is connected, like it is now, to your Home Assistant, you can access other devices on your network, even if they don't have Tailscale installed, which is super cool. So you can use it as just as almost like a VPN tunnel, so you can get to your home network if you want to. And again, those devices don't have to have Tailscale on them. You just have to have Tailscale on the device that you're using to access them. Another feature that's underneath that is called Exit Node. And this basically lets your Home Assistant machine act like a VPN gateway. So if you're somewhere like a coffee shop, you can turn on Tailscale on your phone, enable the Exit Node, and all of your internet traffic will route through your home network. And basically that means if a website or a service is checking your IP address for some reason, it will appear as though you're browsing from your home internet connection. So sort of another neat little VPN gateway if you want to use that. We're not going to use those today, but I wanted to point those out as two really cool features. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump on my MacBook just because I want to mirror my iPhone to show you how this is going to work. So I will be right back. Okay, so here we are on my Mac. And I have my iPhone pulled up here, and I'm going to go to App Switcher. We don't want that. Oh, here, Tailscale. Here we go. So here is my Tailscale, and we are logged in, and you can see that I have my exit node up on the top, which we're not going to use. But here is the Home Assistant -1 that we saw before. So I'm going to click on that. And here are the three different URLs that I can utilize to access my Home Assistant remotely. So what I'll do is I'll click on the Home Assistant one at the top. So I copy it, open up Chrome again, and then I'm going to right click and paste. Here is the URL we just copied in there. So I'm going to click on :8123 and hit enter. So I'll say MacTech, and here is our Apple TV. So I'm gonna click on Apple TV, and I can click on the button here. Okay, so this is Future Mac talking to you. I realized that during my recording of my phone, my OBS was only showing half of the phone screen, so you really couldn't tell what I was doing. Basically, you can't really see what you're doing in terms of what's on the television. It just shows you different networks and different apps. So I wanted to show you just what you can do with regard to listening to different music tracks, if nothing else. But this is the Apple TV, and we're just cycling through a couple of different music tracks that are playing. Nothing too exciting, but I did want to show you that you can control it through the browser on your iPhone. I do realize that this phone is on Wi-Fi, and I could not you can't mirror the phone on a Mac without being on Wi-Fi. So I did it that way. And then we're going to switch over to 5G. So let's do that now. As you can see, I have the Home Assistant open. In the upper right-hand corner of the phone, you can see that I'm on 5G. We can control our Apple TV or any other devices through our Home Assistant and focus back on our vacation in Maui. So that is a quick and simple way to access Home Assistant with Tailscale so you can automate your home remotely. And you'll notice that we did not do any port forwarding, which I'm really not a fan of recommending anyway. And while we did install Home Assistant on a Raspberry Pi today, you can actually run it on a number of other things as well, like a mini PC or virtual machine or even a NAS, depending on your setup. But the Pi is certainly a simple and affordable way to do it if you want. Anyway, that's going to wrap up this video. If you found it useful, please give us a like and drop a comment below. I'd love to hear what you're using for home automation, if anything. If it's Home Assistant or maybe HomeKit or something else entirely, let us know what's working for you. And if you haven't done so, please make sure that you're subscribed to Mackie Tech for more home lab and self-hosting tutorials like this. If you'd like to support me, please consider dropping by my Patreon, where I share deeper dive tutorials and some behind-the-scenes Mackie Tech silliness you won't see on YouTube. And as always, a special thank you for my Patreon supporters. You know who you are. And thank you all for watching. We'll be talking to you again very soon.